Hey, it's been a minute. I've been really busy on a project. I am on top of comics. I'm in charge of web design and development at a digital marketing agency. And I've been working on this all-consuming project that's been driving me nuts, and I think I finally got it working. And it's 6 o'clock, so I still haven't done my page for today. So you're gonna join me. I don't really have much to talk about. All I've been fixating on is this issue I've been having with this code. It's my first time with a lot of things. I was using VS Code to write a Python script, and then I was also using GitHub to keep it all organized. Those are things I don't use often. It's been very frustrating. And when I have a big project like that, it's just all consuming. It's all I can do. It's all I can work on. I just fixate on getting it to work right. And then what happens is I run into this issue where I haven't done anything for my page. So I'm going to be working on that for a little bit. One thing I was thinking about as I'm roughing the page right now, and if you're wondering why I'm doing it in the roughs in a light blue, it's because in comics we used to use a non-photo blue pencil. So it almost looks like a blue coloring pencil, but what's nice about it is if you photocopied it or shot it to film or whatever, the blue would not pick up. It just will not show up on a photocopier or scan or anything. So now there's no reason for me to be doing this digitally, but it's just what I do. I'm used to the non-photo blue. Sometimes if I'm feeling spicy, I'll do it in red as well, like if I'm refining my roughs. But I'm drawing an exchange between my main character, who is a demon, and the devil himself, Lucifer Morningstar. And originally I conceived this character to look just like Ryan Gosling. And I'm sticking with it. It's basing it off of him. It doesn't look exactly like him, obviously, but just that was somebody I thought of years ago when I was kind of conceptualizing this project. And I will oftentimes model my characters off of somebody in real life. You know, I'll change a few things so it's not an exact likeness, because then you could potentially get in trouble. But I always like the idea of having it's easier to kind of stay, instead of doing like a character sheet, you can kind of stay on spec by just taking a look at pictures of whoever you're modeling off of. And then, like I said, you don't want an exact likeness, but it makes it a lot easier to deal with down the line. Oh, I don't really have much to say other than this is all I've been doing. It feels like that's all I do is code all day and then draw and then code and then draw, and sometimes I get a little sleep in there. I haven't been active on YouTube at all. I've just I just feel exhausted all the time. And I don't feel like I have the time to do anything. And it's tough. But I felt like I needed to do something, so... And people seem to like me drawing. So I'll do that. I don't know if you can pick up on it, but there's these little guidelines on here. I'll zoom way in. That's what I use for lettering guide. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll rough out, get the panel borders done first, just so I can do that. Then the next step is I do the dialogue. One of the benefits of working digitally, especially when you're kind of stressed out, is you can copy and paste stuff. Now that I've done that, I want to go through and change a few key elements. You don't ever want it to be exactly the same, and it won't be. We're going to ink it differently, but I have no problem copying and pasting roughs back and forth. So yeah, just changing a little bit. I always, especially in dialogue heavy scenes, you always want to have the character's mouth open. My one exception is my main character down here. This is the Gamjakoth. He's one of many Gamjakoths. Gamjakoths are kind of like lieutenant demons in lore and demonic lore. I'm sure I'm on some list somewhere. But I came up with this design one day. Basically, this whole project came about when I was at CCS. End of the spring semester, you have to do a 16-page mini comic, which not a big deal for me. At the time, you know, I was pretty comfortable drawing a lot of pages. I had drawn many pages. I had drawn a graphic novel before. For, you know, the rest of my class, they might not have done anything that big before. So it's kind of a big deal. And I struck out hard. My 16-pager was going to be a whole other story. It was going to be about bootlegging in the post-World War II, using airplane. It was too much, and it didn't work. And my teacher, Jason Lutz, who, if you've never read his work, I highly recommend Berlin. It's all about the lead up to World War II. Scarily present right now. And he told me, like, hey, this isn't working. And he gave me a way out. You know, he was like, I'm worried you're not going to have enough time. Here's what I would do to fix the story, and this would still work. And I said, you know, I felt it too. I was like, you're right. This is a bummer, but you're right, and I need to come up with something else. And something I've been doodling is this Gamjakoth character. I wasn't called the Gamjakoth. I just doodled him several times, and I was like, just make a comic based off that. And so I created all this lore, or I didn't create the lore. I created a world around him based off demonic lore, and I made a little 16-page mini comic, and it was received very well, which thankfully was nice. And originally, the previous page, I'd drawn Lucifer with, you know, giant naked buff man with giant bat wings, and I don't want to keep that up. Trying that constantly sucks. I was just talking about my Patreon. I'm posting my old webcomic called Drunk Elephant Comics, and the main character is a tiny little drunk elephant, anthropomorphized. You know, he walks and talks like a human. He wears pants and a shirt. And one thing I was doing early on, the character design, look, he had like elephant, legs. He didn't have hands, and I quickly realized early on that I needed to give him hands. So I just made up a silly storyline about a ray gun that shoots the clothes only off of ladies, and gives, if you're a man and you get shot by it, you get erectile dysfunction. And for Hank, the elephant, he got a pair of hands. That was it. And the ray gun comes back later in the story, but I've been republishing all those. I have a ton of strips for those. That was a fun time in my life. It was 2008 to 2012. I'd gotten divorced, and I was living by myself in this house, and I just started doing a webcomic. At first I was posting, a couple times a week, and then I was posting 4 times a week, and then I started doing a couple other webcomics with a couple other collaborators, and every Thursday night I would go to this hole-in-the-wall little Mexican restaurant, and I'd meet up with other cartoonists in the area, and we'd have margaritas and tacos, and it was, I don't know, I was miserable, but also I remember that part, I couldn't wait to get home from work so I could draw. And I remember that part of my life being incredibly fun. I gotta pause this for a second. Close the door before my son charges in here. Be right back. This is kind of fun. Story time with Uncle Max. I got an email this morning that this was the 20th anniversary of CCS. I've been working with one of the founders on a project for the school. It's going to be a comic about the American prison system. It'll be called Beyond Punishment. I am not doing the artwork, but I'm doing the production, lettering, all that stuff. I had a intern named Malcolm, but he graduated, and school's starting back up at CCS in Vermont. I am from the plains of the Midwest, so going to the Upper Valley was really weird for me. It took me a while to get used to it. One thing, after you copy and paste something in Procreate, it goes into another layer, so just want to make sure that all my layers are set up. One other thing I was thinking about, I updated Procreate and to the new version, and I thought all of my brushes had disappeared, and I have a ton of brushes. So just for like See You in Hell, I have its own little palette right here. These are all the brushes I use to create the comic. But like all of these are like, this is all not custom, these are purchased. And then this is the stuff that came with Procreate. Well, so this new palette, they put all the brushes in libraries, and they came out with new brushes. I haven't played with them yet. That's in the Procreate library. Well, so I go into the classic library and all I see, it's like this view. It's down at the bottom. All my custom stuff is at the top. I lost my mind. I was like, oh my God, there's so much I gotta do to fix this. And then thankfully somebody said, they're still, mine were still there. I got on Blue Sky. And so then I scrolled up and I was like, oh, thank God. They were all right there. That would have been a disaster. Anyway, I'm not getting much done. I should probably, and the Cubs and the Mets are about to play. And it's the worst being a Chicago Cubs fan, and it's the worst being a New York Mets fan. And thankfully, Cubs are in the wild card already. They clinched their postseason. But you never know. I always get nervous. The Mets are fighting to get in. Walk up. So, and I'll go through and do some of these backgrounds later, but they're just in a kind of like in a mountain valley, so it's not that big of a deal to like draw. I'm just gonna just do a dash line to indicate that his wings are disappearing. I feel like this is a very Creed pose with arms wide open. Thank you, I'm here all week. Be sure to tip your waitress. Some tile in there. But it's funny going back to like the wings disappearing. So much of that is because like artists just don't want to draw it, and so they like work it into the story somehow. It's my own fault. I'm my own writer. Alright, I'm going to finish up these roughs, and I think that's long enough. We've been going on almost 20 minutes, so... Anyways, it was kind of nice just to hang out with you guys. I used to do this with my friend Bruce, who used to be a pretty prominent anchor for Malibu and Marvel and DC, and he's inked a ton of books, but primarily he's known for these. If you find him online, he's a good follow. He does Muppets like as movies, so like he'll do like a bunch of Muppet characters in David Lynch's Lost Highway, for example, or something like that. Patton Oswalt gave him a big shout out, and now that's all he does is Muppet commissions. It's pretty cool. Check out his work. I'll post info somewhere. Anyways, he's also in town, and we would just call each other late at night because I knew he'd be up, so it'd be like 1 in the morning, and we would just talk while we drew all the time. Drawing comics is very lonely, and so having someone to talk to is nice. Yeah, I think that's it for now. I think I'll let you guys go. But if you like this, this is a pretty easy setup for me to do. Hopefully it's a good hang. Okay, I'll do another one. So anyway, thanks for hanging with me, and we'll talk soon. Bye.